Hey guys, Adam from Equip to Endure. I had a request here recently to talk about my Fallkniven Idun. We did a 5-year or 4-year, I think, review on the Becker BK2 4 years later. And in that video, somebody requested the Idun. And it's actually funny because when I decided to do this video, I was going to do the Idun anyway. And since I had the request, I was like, well, I guess I should do the Idun. And give you guys a point of reference on this again. Now, first off, this is a aftermarket sheath. This was a custom sheath made by an E2E follower. It was a gift. He just, dabbled in sheath making and sent this to me. It was awesome. Thank you very much. I'm not going to put his name out there. Really appreciated. He even put the Equip to Endure logo in right there. Great stuff. Other thing he did, and I thought it was pretty cool, he actually made a version of the quick release that's a patented thing from Hedgehog Leatherworks. Paul Shedder has a patent on this. This is his original concept. And so there are some people, unfortunately, copying him out there. I think there is one licensed user. But anyway, when this was sent to me, he actually sent it without the elastic in there, saying like, "Hey, listen, I didn't put that in there. I know that's Paul's patented thing. I didn't want to infringe on his patent or anything." And he's not selling this. He's recognizing who made that. This was just kind of a gift. He was dabbling, so I threw it on there. And I want to push that out there. This is Paul's stuff, and make sure you guys go check out hedgehogleatherworks.com. He did have a sheath for the Idun back in the day. So I've had this knife now for 4 to 5 years. I think it's more in the 5-year range, and it's kind of like that first love that you kind of want to go back to. And that's the only way I can explain it now. My style and my taste in knives has evolved over the course of the years. I do like that more 5-inch length blade. This is a 4-inch blade. 4.5-inch handle. I do like the thinner, 3/32 1/8 thickness. This is 0.2 inches or 5 millimeters, so it's a little bit thicker. But even with all those changes, the combination of the blade thickness, the geometry cut from the convex edge, this knife is still pretty unbeatable. And for those guys who don't like a thinner knife or want a thicker blade that can still cut like a thin blade, well, this is that answer. This is that kind of perfect mix of the synergy between the thickness of this blade and the convex edge, the convex grind, I should say. It's still an unbelievable knife to put out in the field. Now, I would say that this is definitely kind of a higher class hunting knife slash bushcraft knife slash field knife. It's not necessarily something that you want to put the quote unquote survival label on. And when I use that label, guys, I know a lot of people use that ambiguously. I probably have multiple meanings too, but when I just say a simple survival knife, I kind of mean something that you pack up and it's kind of that you're in a situation, you pull this knife out and it's going to serve you in a multitude of different ways. And that's always going to depend on your skill set. So, I don't put that survival label on this because this is a nice piece. This is a piece that's going to take some care throughout the year. I got to pull this thing out and put some wax or oil on the leather every once in a while so it doesn't dry out if I want this to last. Now, the price of this nowadays is around the $300 mark. This is a pricey item. I actually got it on a trade through a dealer who was a friend of mine, and he basically gave it to me for a trade of other stuff for cost. So I think, whatever his dealer cost was, 150 or whatever, I gave him 150 bucks worth of trade. And I got a steal of, like, he was doing me a favor, I had something that he wanted and, he couldn't purchase himself. And, that's how that happened. So I've had this for a number of years. I got a good value of it. I don't know if I'd go out and buy one for 300 bucks. When I purchased it, I'm probably in a better position now to do that. Because especially that I know, and I've used this for a number of years, I know how nice it is. So if you're interested in this is going to be a very limited, type or audience that's really going to look into purchasing this. Something they want a little bit more upscale, a little nicer, something they don't have to, keep up and everything. As you can see, she's kind of scratched up from use out in the field. I actually do want to get some polish and kind of polish this back out just for fun, just because it's a beautiful piece. Back to the design of this knife, there's just something inherently perfect about this knife. And I really, I was talking to Robbie about this and we were kind of going back to it. It's like, sometimes you just don't need to improve on something, even though I like a longer blade sometimes, I like a thinner blade sometimes. And there's some, handles out there that are probably more keen to ergonomics of a hand. There's just something about this knife that it just really hit all the points perfect. This isn't. It's got good weight in the front, but the lack of a full tang makes this knife lighter, even though it's thicker. The simple curves of the handle and the stacked leather, it's not a pain to hold. It's not slick, but it's not rough at the same time. All the soft curves of the guard here fit really well. There's no hot spots, regardless of how you hold this knife. You can hold it in different ways if you're field dressing animal or skinning something. If you want to do some fine work, if you're doing some nice carving or cuts, or if you want to get in there and do some real precise stuff, you can do that as well. Or if you want to be able to sit there and pop some firewood batoning, this knife is going to be able to handle it. It's a pretty thick blade, and it just really hits all of those key points. The only thing I can really complain about this knife is the lanyard hole is pretty small. I mean, you're talking about maybe a 16 carrier, maybe a 24 carrier line you can fit in there, some 2A, but normal 550 cord, you're gonna have a hard time kind of threading that through. Not to say that's impossible, you could probably do it, but it's gonna be a little bit more challenged. But a knife like this, you don't really need a lanyard. I mean, I don't even know why they had the lanyard hole there. You probably could get rid of it and be all the same. This knife, I've talked about it many, many times. And this is something that pretty much goes with me every time I go out. Even if I have other blades that I really like using, this will kind of be a backup. Once I get this thing honed up and take it to a strop, it holds an edge for a great amount of time. The VG10 laminated steel is pretty awesome. One of my favorite steels out there. It's not, it's not one of these steels that is impossible to sharpen out in the field. I mean, some blue jeans on, stropping it on my leg. It works really well. If I have some leather, it's even better. I've got a belt that I've stropped this up and brought it back to where I need it. Very, very easy. I mean, the Rockwell hardness on this is about a 59, but of course you have the strength of the inner core steel as well. So it's going to hold an edge pretty well, but also you can bring it back into where you need it pretty quickly. And it's stainless, so you don't have to worry about the corrosion as well. Always a plus. Like I said before, the stack leather handle, if you're going to make an investment like this, you need to be prepared to take care of this investment. You're going to take a little time with this. And I'm not saying like every week you got to pull it out and oil it, but probably once a year I get some, beeswax or some other wax or oil, whatever, and I take a rag and just kind of polish it in here. And, sometimes I'll do it, I'm watching TV or something. I don't really sit down to watch TV very often and just, kind of take care of it. If there's like a little scratch there, sometimes I can repair that stuff, get some oil in there and clean it up as well. Just like you would do your boots, guys. For those of you guys who polish boots out there, I know that's a dying trait, a dying skill nowadays, especially since the military is moving away from that for their normal BDU uniform. But anyway, us police officers, we still know about polishing boots. So now, not that I do it as well as I did when I was in the academy. I just brush polish nowadays. But again, awesome blade. You don't have to worry about any failures in this. It's a pretty stout plunge line as well. You do have a rat tail tang that does go to the end here, but it's not going to extend out the hand. So it's technically, I guess, it is kind of a full tang, but it's not a fully exposed tang that you're used to because you do have a stack leather handle in there as well. But just beautiful blade. Again, the price tag, it's going to be a little much. You're talking about something that is forged in Japan, because the VG10 laminated steel is a proprietary Japanese steel. Then it's taken to Sweden. They finish, putting an edge on the knife and constructing the knife, and then it's shipped to the States. So you're talking about a lot of money goes into just transporting this knife and getting it built. So I am a fan of Fallkniven, however you want to say it. The F1 and the S1 are, some of my favorite knives as well. This is definitely a upscaled version of the F1. So, the blade's a little bit different, a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger. And this is, again, from the Northern Light series, which is the NL5 or November Lima 5. Beautiful, beautiful blade. And just wanted to share that with you guys again. I mean, it's one of those things, like I said, it's kind of a first love. You kind of always get back to it. And no matter how many knives I find out there that, I think fit whatever I'm doing, this knife still works. It still works very well. And again, I have to say it's almost kind of a masterpiece. Even Ethan Becker, I gave him this to use one day at Practice What You Preach, and he's working something, stops and looks at it, works it again, stops and looks at it, and he says, "This is a disgustingly good knife, or nice knife." As a knife maker, looking at something that somebody else made, sometimes it's like, man, I wish I made this knife. So that's a hell of a compliment coming from Ethan Becker. You guys know he's been using knives in the kitchen, in the field for decades, and he's got some of our favorite knives out there. But awesome, awesome blade. I can't recommend this enough. This knife has seen some use out in the field, and it's got some battle scars on her. But again, 5 years, and she is doing well. This will be something that, you know, one of my kids can have one of these days. So if you are in the market for a higher class hunting type knife, you know, something a little bit more flair than normal, and you have some of the disposable income, and I say that not everybody does. Not everybody wants to go out and buy that type of piece, and that's fine. The only constructive criticism that I can say about this is the sheath that it comes with is garbage. I hated that sheath. I actually snagged the clasp on it and ripped the button off when I first got it. I was just walking against something like some brush or something. I've had 2 aftermarket sheaths after that, and this one I really love. It just fits my style, my sensibilities. Great knife, guys. Fallkniven Idun, or NL5 for Northern Light series. Beautiful blade. 5 years later, still doing its thing, and can't complain. And even if I wanted a thinner blade for this, it might not necessarily mean it would work better than this one does. It's that, you know, the synergy between that edge, that grind, and the thickness works well for everything, whether it be carving, some light batoning, and we have a heck of an edge on that thing. Probably do need to strop that a little bit, but great blade nonetheless. Again, just for the stats, 4-inch length, 4.5-inch handle, 5 millimeters thick, and a beautiful, beautiful blade. All right, guys, Adam from Equip to Door. If you have any questions or comments, you know where to reach us. And make sure you guys check out the Equip to Door website at equiptoendure.com. For 9 cents a day, you guys can help support Equip to Endure. Some great videos, blogs, articles, forums, and community on there. We're really doing well, really happy with the way we're going. For 9 cents a day, it's something you definitely try out to see if it works for you guys. All right, guys, you guys take care, be safe out there, and remember, if you're not always prepared, you're never prepared. Thanks.